Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Wrestling here on Come Waste Your Time. Hi for now. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I am your host, the Casanova of the Canvas, Preston Black. Thank you, and a thank you. And I am joined by my ever vigilant co-host, the Eros of enhancement talent, Ben Barber. How's it going,
When
Dad?
when do you write this stuff?
It
When
depends.
do you write this? How do you what is happening?
Like, what's my process? I just try to think of something that is at least loosely tied to the topic that we're discussing, and then another thing that what's that?
You said discussion.
Discussion, and then something else that rhymes, that alliterates with it, that is related to wrestling in some way.
So, all right, I get it. What are we talking about in this episode?
Tonight we are going to be talking about on-air couples. No, well, not just on-air couples, real life couples that are also presented on air. I've got a sort of a random list of some of the most well-known examples, and we can just sort of run through however many we get through and discuss, and also just to get the general vibe. How do we feel about those things? I'm still posting the link to our channel in a few places, Ben. So you just had Springfest, yes? How was that?
It was springy and festy.
That's really what you want, right?
You do. Most of the time, when you have an event called Springfest, you would like for it to have two things. Number one, spring, and number two, fest.
My experience with Springfest, I would dare to say, have leaned heavily more towards the fest side than the spring side. Because every time I've ever gone to Springfest, it's rained heavily. Which I guess is springy, but it's not. When you think of Springfest, you don't think of heavy rain.
I do.
You think of a nice, a nice, comfortable, temperate day at the beach.
Well, yes.
With funnel cake.
But you can't. I had funnel cake.
Of course you did.
I had fried dough. Well, I haven't had fried dough, so I've been doing these festivals for a really long time.
Uh-huh.
And not only have I been doing these festivals for a really long time, but I've also been doing the Washington County Fair. And I've done probably between all of them, like I've worked like 16 or 17 festivals now and fairs. And I have not had fried dough, doughboys, funnel cakes, whatever you would want to call them. I have not had it since I was a child. But I had it, and it was delicious. And I tried it a different way.
Meaning the funnel cake.
Meaning how do you usually eat fried dough?
However it's put in my hand. I feel like if I'm somewhere that serves a fried dough product, it's usually in what we would call in Rhode Island, or at least in New England, a doughboy. I don't believe that is a national term.
I don't believe it is either.
But
I don't know if it's even all over an island, but continue.
No, maybe not. I only recently learned about is it Mr. Lemonade or something like that?
What is that?
Adele's competitor, and it's like people in the southern Rhode Island are all Dells, and then everyone in like Providence County is all about Captain Lemonade or whatever it's called. I'm convinced it must be the absolute swill, the most garbage slush puppy nonsense, because Dells is perfection.
Dells is absolutely perfection. I had Dells this past weekend, and it did not.
I'm upset that I can't have Dells. When I first moved away from Rhode Island to California, I don't know if this was like a prank or if it had genuine intention. And I think it was my parents or my aunt and my uncle sent me like a tub of Dells mix, and which was very lovely until the immediate realization that I don't have like the means to make. I don't know how to make myself a Dells at home. I don't have like a Dells, like a ice cream machine or like a margarita machine or anything like that. I guess if I had a margarita machine, that would do it. Please don't do this right now. It's not time. No. My cat has a desk game. It's very disruptive when I'm trying to use the computer because it involves him lying across my keyboard.
So how do you usually eat it? Do you put the powdered sugar on it, cinnamon sugar?
Absolutely. No, I'm not. No, I'm not about cinnamon sugar. I'm a Du Bois. I'm all about the powdered sugar.
Well,
the confectionery sugar.
Yeah, definitely the confectionery sugar is amazing. My mom would have them at home. Would like my uncle would make them at home. My mom liked the confectionery sugar sometimes. I mean the cinnamon sugar, brown sugar, whatever it may be on it. And but at the festive spring festival, I tried it with pizza sauce.
I beg your pardon.
It was pizza sauce and Parmesan cheese.
I've never heard of that in my life. It sounds good. In fact, if all the times I've ever like on a whim tried to make myself a doughboy, like at work, because I work in various kitchens, it's always been with pizza.
You work in various kitchens?
Yeah, I mean, not simultaneously, but like I haven't worked in
various kitchens.
I have worked in various kitchens.
You don't currently work in various kitchens.
No, I work in one kitchen at a time.
Well, like at one time in like the length of time of like a year, or like
let's say,
or like at that moment.
At that moment.
And in a couple moments, you might be in a different kitchen.
Yeah, who's what the future holds. But I'm not like in a different kitchen every day.
So we had the okay, so we had the Du Bois with the pizza sauce and the Parmesan cheese, and it was mwah.
Was it like really heavily like Rhode Island style, like really heavily baked on pizza sauce with like a little sprinkle of cheese, or was it just like a dollop of?
No, it was literally just it was a Du Bois with, and then they it was like cold pizza sauce, I think. And they just put it on with the cheese, and what I was told afterwards was that you also, and this is the move, I guess, is to get that with powdered sugar on top of it.
Oh, you might have lost me there.
See, I would try it.
I'm not so disgusted by it that I wouldn't try it.
See, here's the thing.
If someone else had it.
I wasn't stirred wrong when I was told get the Du Bois with the pizza sauce.
Yeah.
So why would I?
So how far do you take it? Yeah.
You take it as far as you ride it till it falls off the tracks.
Yeah. Let's talk about wrestling. So
wait, hold on. We haven't been talking about wrestling this entire time.
We've been talking about. Yeah, I think we can make an argument. And so here's my syllogism argument for how we've been talking about wrestling, because we're talking about fried dough, which is something that you get at a carnival where carnies work.
Oh God.
And you can fill in the rest. So yes.
All right. You know what? In the words of Punk, let's take the let's take the Pepsi plunge and just dive right into this.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. And now I'm
All right.
making bad puns like you are. Continue.
So this came up actually. So for the viewer who might be uninitiated, this episode is sort of almost a month in the making. But I got COVID and I was out of commission for a few weeks. So when I initially had the inclination to bring this topic up, it was because at the time there was a lot of discourse over Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti.
Who are people?
Who are people? They are AEW performers.
Okay.
And
he's a superstar. He's a superstar, and she's a diva.
He's a yeah, right, exactly. And so they were completely unassociated, and then they started dating in real life and posting on Instagram, which meant they had to make it an angle on air. And there was a lot of chatter about whether or not that was a good idea or a bad idea, and if the stuff that they were doing was bad. It was bad content, bad writing, whatever. And I didn't watch enough of it to form a concrete opinion. My general outsider perspective from what I did what I did see and what I heard is that it wasn't that good. So I was like, this is kind of a good topic for discussion because this is a well-worn trope in wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a real mixed bag. And so I'll just say, for me, just as a surface thought, I'm really not into the concept of a romance angle to begin with, like just on its own. But I'm like especially not into it if it involves a real life couple. And we can discuss why, but I want to hear what you feel about that first.
I like when things are real. I would
excuse me.
I don't know. Like the Matt and Lita kiss in 99 or 2001 or whatever it was. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
That no. That was
it can be very good.
It can. I don't know of anything. And then sometimes you put people together that aren't together, and then they get together.
It seems to be the case in at least half of examples.
Well, that's what I mean. It happens in all of entertainment, right?
For sure.
You're with a co-star, and then you're with a co-star.
Yeah, and it's a perfectly natural progression. I think anyone who's worked in that any form of entertainment where you're interacting in that type of way, where you're portraying a story or characters that are interlinked, there's a lot of intimacy involved just in doing that work. And so it's sort of just like a completely logical and natural evolution of that, right?
Yep.
To have it grow from there.
Do you ever date a co-star?
Have I ever dated a co-star? No. I have co-starred with people who I have been involved with already.
Okay.
But I've never, and I've had, and I've had, I would say I've had like flings with people who I've worked with in in acting. But I've never like with someone who I mean, and I've had relationships that derive from working together in acting, but not someone with whom I was, in this context that like we were acting together in that capacity and then it grew. That
Right.
very specific example, no. All other examples, yes.
Daddy Issues Barbie says John Cena.
John Cena is correct.
Wait, is that a wrestler?
John Cena?
What is your wrestler name? Richard Ross. Preston, what is your wrestler name?
My name in wrestling is also Richard Ross, so that's uncomfortable.
My wrestler's name would be Honey Trap.
That's a good one, I guess. It kind of depends on what you do with it. I might need some more context for that, but I'm going to give it a thumbs up. A hesitant thumbs up. I had this is off topic, but since it was asked, I had a couple of characters that I had created. One was the Professor. Do you remember the Professor? Did I ever talk about the Professor with you?
No.
This might have been before we started hanging out. The Professor was a wrestler, a wrestling character that I created when I was actually going to wrestling school, and it was a highly gimmicked character. And I had two moves. One of them was called the Final Exam, and it was a full Nelson Slam. And there was a submission that I believe I created. I've never seen anyone do it. It's not very
convoluted. Was this
the submission?
Yeah,
it wasn't. It's only slightly. It's more convoluted than like a legitimate MMA move, but it's less convoluted than like a figure four.
Or what do you do?
All right. So, you get the guy on his back, and you have his legs and your arms, like you're gonna do like a
Boston Crab.
No, the opposite. Like you're gonna do face up. So like you're gonna do what's it called, like a monkey flip, where you do the
Sure.
I can't remember what it's called, but you know the gimmick where like you fall back.
So he's not on his back. He's on his stomach.
No, he's on his back, and I have his legs, and then I fall back, and I wrap my legs around his waist with his feet in my arms. So I'm holding his legs down across my torso, and my legs are wrapped around, and I'm sort of stretching the thighs and also squeezing the belly with the legs. So like I'm constricting your
position.
No. It's not sexual at all when you see it. So I'm constricting. I'm limiting your ability to breathe, and I'm also like stretching your thighs and abdomen. I couldn't possibly provide a visual without an assistant and an ample space, which I don't have.
Do you have two action figures?
Not with that level of mobility. No, it was good. Trust me. And I've never seen anyone do it.
Where is Kevin Hinkle? Where is Kevin? We need Kevin to draw this out for us.
If I was a betting man, I would say Georgia probably has a home video somewhere, because we used to Doug and I used to pull our mattresses out of our rooms and create like a mattress ring in our living room and have really intense wrestling matches. This is super off topic. Wrestling couples.
Are we? I mean, sounds like we were just talking about a wrestling couple.
We're going to talk about coupling, but.
All right. So, who are some of the wrestling couples that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I've just got this list. There's over 20 examples here, and they're just kind of in mostly a random order, but they're some of the most like obvious ones that you would think about.
Ryan Cabrera and Alexa Bliss.
No, that doesn't count. Grace said Ryan Cabrera and Alexa Bliss. They're not an on-screen couple. It doesn't count.
They are not an on-screen couple. However, if she changed that to being her character, then I'm into it. Who ended up? So obviously, Ryan Cabrera, Ashley Simpson was the couple that stole our hearts 20 years ago. Who ended up in a better situation? Ryan Cabrera with Alexa Bliss, or Ashley Simpson with, not with Pete Wentz anymore, with Evan Ross.
I don't know who Evan Ross is.
Diana Ross's son.
Oh, I would have to say Alexa Bliss and Ryan Cabrera.
Is this because of the water bottle?
It's because I am not familiar enough with Evan Ross to be able to make a judgment call on him, but Ryan Cabrera and Alexa Bliss both seem like very sweet, like good-hearted people.
Fair. Ashley Simpson did the Cotton Eye Joe, though.
She did do the Cotton Eye Joe. That's true.
I've met Ryan Cabrera, and I can attest to.
Yeah, we already referenced that story. Grace attests to the fact that Ryan Cabrera is a kind, good-hearted person. No, I told that story on another night. Ben just referenced it. Do you want to tell the story?
No.
We've only got 40 minutes.
Okay, hurry up.
You still have 40 minutes?
Okay, so I'm just gonna start.
I've been derailing so hard.
We spent about 15 of those, the first 20 minutes, talking about
fried dough and the festival of springtime.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna go down the list. Like I said, it's basically in just like random order. Just I was searching the internet for wrestling on-screen couples, and this is just the order that I saw them in. So the first was Miz and Maurice, top tier.
Great,
love it.
Miz and Maurice are great on-screen couple.
Yeah, there's no discussion here. They're fantastic.
Hate the Miz's ring, not ring gear, his entrance attire.
The like wacky jacket.
The jacket with the headband and stuff. No, thank you.
I liked it when he first started using that gear, and I like what he does with it on special occasions. His sort of just like everyday version is I don't like it. I like the black that he used initially, and I like when they do like the Phantom of the Opera one, I like that, and he did like a Naruto one that was kind of fun. A Naruto.
Anyway, Miz and Maurice top tier.
Yeah, Miz and Maurice are the bar. Here. Next one is Mike and Maria Kanellis.
I thought that would have had a good
Go on.
I thought that would have had a good story. Like, honestly, I enjoyed, first of all, Mike and Maria Kanellis. The way that you even said that references WWE. Like, they were Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis for so much longer before and now after the WWE stint. But you saying Mike and Maria Kanellis proves the point that it was a good story idea.
Yeah. Well, WWE. I think to kind of add a little bit of context, I think the list that I pulled this one was specifically WWE couples. So that makes a little bit more sense why it's listed like that. But
I'm going to continue to hammer home the point that I just made, which was that you think that it's a good. Okay, continue.
However, that is exactly how I would have chosen to add them to this list. Even if that was not how they were presented to me when I was making the list, because that gimmick was gold and they buried it in the sand. Okay, make no mistake.
Yeah,
I'm not. I follow both of them on Twitter. I've seen like scattered stuff that they've done. I was never they're TNA, yeah. And I never watched TNA really, so I'm not super intimately familiar with the work that they have done outside of
TNA and
WWE.
ROH.
Okay,
And
either way.
yeah.
So I mean I have nothing to compare it to, but their WWE gimmick I thought was fantastic. I hate that they completely got buried and then ignored for 3 years.
Holy Flesh says wrestling is a good base for MMA. Khabib was a wrestler. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Hello, Holy Flesh. Next.
Yeah, he's a UFC guy. Next is I don't follow MMA at all, but agreed. And also, I think you could say the opposite. Also, that MMA is a good base for wrestling. John Cena and Nikki Bella.
Boo. Boo.
I liked John Cena and Nikki Bella. I thought they were great. I thought they were endgame, and I'm sad about it.
I
would have no. If you're telling me that John Cena and Nikki Bella were not the love story to end, he proposed at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he did.
John Cena,
And that was the end of it.
The Babe, how dare you? The Babe Ruth of WWE said he would never get married again, said he would never have kids, said he would never do any of that stuff. He was going to give all of that up for his one true love, Nicole Garcia? Nicole
Yes.
Bella. And what she did to him, falling in love with her co-star, Dancing with the Stars, is so. I don't know why I'm putting all of the blame on her.
I don't
But in my mind
know why
right
you're
now,
doing any of this.
I don't know. I loved it. I loved it. Nikki and John. She became the female John Cena. She was wonderful. She actually really did a wonderful job. The Bella twins, fine. Nikki Bella deserves so much more credit for putting women's wrestling in a mainstream spotlight with Total Divas.
And
Hall of Fame career, to be sure.
Listen, I'm not talking about the in-ring stuff. The in-ring stuff, by the way, was fine. But what she did with the branding and everything that happened with Total Divas and getting into that market and that transcended wrestle, that was one of the reasons why people wanted to see women wrestle more.
Yes.
So
that is true.
You cannot say that the popularity of the Bellas did not pave the way for people to actually care about Becky and Bayley and Sasha and Charlotte and all of those people actually wrestling.
You know what, Ben? You have me in a corner. I would never make that claim.
Boom.
There it is. Yeah. I don't even know if they necessarily. I would be hesitant to even count them as an on-screen couple because they weren't really that much. Only for that one angle, or and then the extra stuff. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That's semantical. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
GOAT. The greatest on-screen couple of all time.
Big GOAT energy. I think it was unfair of me because I said out of the gate that I was not a fan, that I don't really like romance angles, and I'm way more into the first part of this list than I am some of the other ones on this list. So I feel like I misrepresented what I said.
The McMahon-Helmsley era was the best. Hear me out, trolls on the interwebs. The McMahon-Helmsley era was the best evolution, pun not intended,
Mhm.
out of the McMahon-Austin era.
Yeah.
To have a bad guy who was anti-establishment and such a bad guy that he made Vince McMahon a babyface, marry the boss's daughter by drugging her, and then you find out that she was pissed off that she had to be this perfect little princess. So she turns on everybody and is like, you know what? I fucking like this. And we're going to take over and we're going to run everything. That is a natural evolution to when the Vince McMahon character and Steve Austin character had just gotten too old.
Yeah. It was like the long
And
term.
also Austin was out for like a year, so what else were you going to do?
Exactly. And the booking on that was so long term that I wonder if you could even call it that, because it also seemed like it was just sort of a natural reaction to real life stuff. But it was such a long, like if you it's almost hard to think about it like this, because it seems like such an established thing, and that has just gone on for such a long time. But especially if you watch the Stephanie McMahon episode of the Evil series, they really go through the like the story evolution of Stephanie McMahon's character, starting from when she's just a child to present day, and she talks about the stuff that you just mentioned about her like rebelling against her father in kayfabe and all this stuff, and just and as a side piece to wrestling is wrestling, and like seeing Triple H's like character arc over like 25 years. It's just perfect. It's Shakespeare,
Right.
for both of them. And like you can pick out periods of their on air, characters, and say like, well, this is kind of like the Authority was kind of garbagey at times, and like,
The Authority was a cheap imitation of all of that.
Right, exactly. Yes. But like as an overarching plot, and particularly the McMahon Helmsley era period, just great stuff. Good work. Very
Good
like
work,
complex, good stuff. Undertaker and Sarah.
As an on-screen couple, I didn't see it.
Okay, so
I didn't see it, and I know it was the DDP stuff, and
yeah.
No.
She did appear on screen. She technically had a match, or was involved in stuff. I mean, she did appear on screen. It was totally just storyline stuff. But they were an on-screen couple for that finite amount of time, and it was not good. It seemed very much like I don't know the ins and outs of whose idea the DDP angle was, but it felt at the time like it was just like Undertaker like politicking to get his wife on screen, because like Austin had been doing that. And
well, no. Steve McMichael brought his wife on screen, and then she became an on-screen character because anybody with personalities was given an on-screen role back in the 90s.
Okay.
And then she came over with Jeff Jarrett, and then she became Steve Austin's wife.
Yeah.
And then we stopped talking about that because we all still want to like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, that's where the story ends.
That's where the story ends.
That's where it ends. Nothing happened after that. Okay, that's a fair point. Even so, at the time, it just felt very much like it was not good. She was a bad performer. I think if she had even like an ounce of like performance of character work in her, I think you could have saved it. I think you could have done that same angle in a different way and had it work. And I think it was just the way that it was presented and the fact that Sarah was just garbage on camera.
I just think you didn't need to do that. Like, why do we need to see the Undertaker's wife ever?
You don't. But as an accessory to DDP's story, I think having her involved made sense. It made it kind of meta. It wasn't like, because you didn't get the impression that like she was being presented as a performer. It was very much like a ball breaking thing. However,
go
ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the big flaw is that, DDP's like make me famous thing was silly because of course DDP was already famous.
Here's the thing. It is one person's fault.
Kane.
The Undertaker.
And
Jacobs. Mark and Mark, may I call you Mark? I definitely can't. Sir Taker, sir.
I absolutely cannot.
When you tattooed SARA right here, you had no choice. Okay? You got tattoos everywhere, bud. You had tattoos everywhere. You couldn't tattoo your wife's name anywhere but here, anywhere but the moneymaker. You know? Seriously, you wear, like, you got the V-neck thing going on. Only thing people ever really see is from here up when you're rolling your eyes in the back of your head and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, who is Sarah? Why does this dead zombie all of a sudden have the name Sarah on his throat? I mean, if you never saw Sarah, which you shouldn't have, but if you never saw Sarah, wouldn't it be like a little weird that it was there?
Yeah.
So, Undertaker, I'm sorry, my friend. Can I call you my friend? Probably not. Sir, Mr. Taker, sir, it's your fault.
Yeah, I was just looking up photos of his like cover up, and it's so bad. Yeah. All right. Downvote. Next is Edge and Lita. I have a personal bias against this because I'm such a big Matt Hardy fan. However, being objective as I can possibly be, I am not into this. I think it was super trashy and in very poor taste, and it just didn't have to be. I mean, it was just too much.
First of all, I can't think of or see Matt Hardy without thinking of you.
Thank you.
It has been this way since at least 2005, and I don't know why. No, definitely not at least since 2005. Definitely 2005. It wouldn't have been before 2005. So I don't know if that's a thank you, but you're welcome.
I can't slam a tornado, so. You were saying?
Oh, what was I saying? So I liked the Edge and Lita storyline.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a good job with it. And I think that they did a really good job with. Here's the thing. You had no choice, right? It's like the dead zombie putting Sarah on his throat.
Yeah.
And now everybody's thinking, who the hell is Sarah, right? Like when Matt kissed Lita on air, when you decided to put that out in front,
that stuck out so much that they put it in the My Sacrifice video.
It was so good.
So good.
So good.
I cried.
I was like, I think I know what love is. I was like 12. I probably did think that.
If it works for those crazy kids, it can work for me.
Listen. That's what you got to do. You got to, you got to beat up your opponent. Then you'll get the girl. I don't know. I don't remember what happened at all. But I remember thinking, poor Jeff. Actually, I remember thinking she didn't want to go with Jeff. Everybody loved Jeff.
No.
Matt. Ugh.
Don't Matt Hardy in front of
Why?
me.
Well, because he reminds me of you. Ugh.
That's the second reason. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Hey, listen. If it means anything to you between the two of us, you're the Jeff.
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's true. Between the two of us.
Yeah.
But because you're the brains. Matt Hardy's got the brains. He's the creative one. I mean, they're both creative, but like Matt Hardy's like, he's like the brains of the operation. Jeff is just the pretty guy. The one who
Did you just call yourself pretty?
No, I just,
You son of a bitch.
Anyway, Seth Rollins and
Did we
Becky
start this show early?
Like 2 minutes early.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird. Is that clock not right?
No, it is.
Am I thinking backwards? We certainly
No,
didn't start
we started the show 5 minutes early.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess that is 5 minutes. Yeah, we did start 5 minutes early. But then like the intro and stuff.
That's math.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was I saying? Matt and Lita.
I didn't realize you hadn't moved on.
Matt and Lita was some great meta stuff. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Edge
and Lita. Oh my god. So we saw Raw live at the
at Springfest?
At Springfest? No, we saw it at the Ryan Center. And somebody came out, Edge came out to face somebody. This was in 06. And he said,
Did I go to that with you?
No, we didn't. No, you weren't there. We didn't invite you. Wait, were you there?
I went to see Raw. I think I went to see a house show at the Ryan Center.
It was a house show.
But I think it was more in maybe 03, 04. It might have been with you. I have very.
I don't know why you wouldn't have gone with us.
In 06?
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't have gone with us in 06.
I don't know either. All I remember is seeing.
Was fake Kane there?
Fake Kane?
Yeah.
I remember Kane. And my only memory of that show is that Kane was present.
Did DX fight the Spirit Squad?
No.
Well, anyway, we were
right
next to the.
I think I couldn't have been there because I don't think I was still watching wrestling in 06.
We were right next to the entranceway, and
I was right next to the entranceway, but I don't remember. I wasn't watching wrestling when the Spirit Squad was around.
None of us were watching wrestling. We just went.
Just went? Oh, maybe that's why I don't remember any of it.
No, here's a question. Does this mean anything to you? Carlito ran a stop sign.
No.
How were you not there?
I'm not saying that I wasn't there. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I am saying with intense sincerity that the only memory that I have, including who I was with, is that Kane was there. I don't remember what Kane did. I remember Kane having an entrance and that I was next to it.
You're a jerk. I'm just going to leave a quote in the chat to remind everybody of an undying legend. I've wrestled with alligators. I've tussled with a whale. I've done handcuff lightning and thrown thunder in jail. You know I'm bad. Just last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I mean, I make medicine sick. Love it.
Yeah, that's my favorite Scott Hall quote. I'm tripping.
Why?
Because I'm flummoxed over this Raw event.
Well, anyway.
Who
So
who
listen.
actually said that? I'm not familiar with that quote. Who said that?
I think it's I feel like it's Muhammad Ali. I've
Oh
recently
yeah,
had
that sounds like a Muhammad Ali. You did it. Nice work.
I float like a butterfly, sting
No,
like a
I'm so
bee.
mean I make medicine sick. I feel like that stuck out to me as Muhammad Ali, but I might not have been able to place it without thinking about it for another few minutes.
Preston James Black. Is that your middle name?
Yeah, no, it's not. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch.
They have never been an on-screen couple.
They were like they had like a match. They had like one match, I think. But it was more of like a period of time like last year or something. They were like briefly associated with each other on screen. It was like shortly after they got engaged. And I remember everyone groaning and saying, "Oh my God, are they going to become an on-screen couple? Because that's going to ruin Becky Lynch's career." And then they did like one thing, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I
Null
think,
and void.
yeah, I think overall I agree, null and void. I don't think that necessarily counts. However, and this will be a greater theme later on, and because we're running short of time, I'm going to skip some of the duds and get to some of the good stuff. But an overall point in the age of social media of like acknowledging that real life wrestlers are in a real life relationship online, which I believe they're allowed to do. I don't think they should have to like keep kayfabe at all times on Twitter. But like allowing that to feed into on-air programming, I hate. I hate. Don't talk about it. If they're not going to do an on-screen angle, just don't like suspend my disbelief. In character, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch should have nothing to do with each other. I don't care who's engaged to who or who has got kids or anything like that.
The only person that I care about that has kids is Heath Slater.
I agree. I care deeply about his kids. I hope they're okay. I am gonna skip ahead, but it so happens that the next one is one that should be discussed, and that's Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth.
Ooh, that's gonna hurt my voice. Not doing it.
Yeah,
Bailing.
Don't do it. Cup of coffee.
Coffee in the big time. No, I can't do it because if I do it,
You got the hand
voice.
though.
Huh?
You got the hand though.
Yeah. Anyway.
I bet Ryan does a really good Macho Man. I don't think I've ever seen him do it, but he doesn't have a very gravelly voice.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, one of the best stories ever told.
Tale as old as time.
However, once they were done, they should have been done.
Once they were done off screen, they should have been done on screen.
Yeah, and no, once they were done on screen, because their story peaked with their wedding and the and all that stuff, right? And Macho Man's face turn after the dissolution of the Mega Powers and all this. A great like 2-year build. And then they leave, and that should have been it. But then what spoils it is that they both end up in WCW and have a continued association.
Yep.
That's too bad. That's
you know what? You know what's really missing from wrestling? Moving on.
Yeah, just in general, just let stuff go, right?
Yeah. just people need to start leaving places and going other places and doing things and you know, like I'm sorry, Dolph Ziggler has been in more Royal Rumbles than anyone in history, followed closely behind by Kofi Kingston. Um, and I realize that both of those people have had a cup of coffee as the WWE champion or world heavyweight champion. But
Mhm.
you know, when I was 9, I could see a pattern. Bret Hart started out as a tag team wrestler, became a singles wrestler, got an intercontinental title shot, worked his way up, became the man, became the champion, was an underdog champion for a little while, lost his title, turned into a bad guy, was a bad guy for about a year and a half, not even a year and a half, about a year, and then left. And that was an arc. And that's a full character arc,
Yes.
right? And Shawn Michaels uh, was in a tag team, got cocky, became a singles wrestler, eventually became an intercontinental champion, became an underdog champion that everybody wanted to see win the title. He won the title. He had a year run as a babyface champion. He eventually became a cocky asshole again. He had another year run or so being a dick, and then he left for a while. Those are good. That's enough. That 7-year run, right, where you start from the bottom and then you make it to the top and then you become a dick. Like like that's a great thing. Instead, you
Mhm.
got John Cena being on top for 15 years, Randy Orton being there for 20 years, and having so many twists and turns to his story that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Randy Orton's story does not tell a complete story of something. At one point, he was this guy, and then at one point, he was that guy, and then at one point, he was this guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
These stories don't make sense. And it's because people are there for so long. Kofi Kingston has been amazing. For the first 7 years of his career, he was buried and I don't mean buried like how people use the word buried. I mean
Stuck.
he was stuck in a lower almost enhancement, passing around a title that didn't matter anymore, back and forth with Dolph and several other people, and then got in a tag team, and then just was the tag team champion for 10 years in different iterations,
Yeah.
and then had one story where he became the champion, and then boom, that's it. Done.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I'm sort of struggling to connect it to the original conversation. But
Because like Macho. So okay.
they
So
can't because they can't let stuff go. They have to.
let's just
They
go
have to
because
keep
once Macho Man, right? Because Macho Man and Elizabeth did the entire thing, right? They did
uh,
the all of that stuff. He became a bad guy after the Mega Powers, whatever. He got back with Elizabeth. They married, whatever. And then Vince McMahon was right to be like, you should be a commentator now. I know you're like the biggest thing in the world besides Hulk Hogan and super recognizable, but this is not we need fresh whatever. And I think that's missing. And I think it's a lot of why you end up doing stupid stuff like The Undertaker and Sarah, or bringing back the Authority with Triple H and Stephanie now in their 40s.
mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's a fair point. Um, yeah, I don't have anything to add for that. I think you're absolutely right. So let's try and get in two more here, and two that I I think are really great examples, and that I really wanted, maybe 3, depending on how much time we spend. First one is Rusev and Lana. I think my view on Rusev and Lana is that before they were acknowledged as being as being romantically involved, I think they were great. Lana
Agreed.
in the manager role, perfect and everything. And then once they, basically punished them for daring to get engaged, and then the photo of them in like their hotel room leaks while they're in the middle of Lana's like redemption arc and moving away from Rusev, and then they have to become an on-screen couple, and that arc was already kind of really on thin ice, and that just poured cold water all over the whole thing.
When you don't let the guys at the top go, then you have nowhere up to go for other people. Right. So because Rusev came in, demolished everybody as the United States champion, and then didn't even have, like, if you just put him in a title feud and then you beat him and then you keep beating him and then you're crushing him, right? So then you want to develop more character stuff for him. So then you're like, well, let's have his person, leave him for Dolph Ziggler, and we'll give her some more character, and we'll do all, and you just end up doing a bunch of stupid shit just to do a bunch of stupid shit instead of like having any forward momentum to any of these people.
Yeah, I think that arc could have been okay. Like I was kind of half in before it got spoiled. I liked Lana's because Lana's like face turn was natural. People were responding to her, and so Dolph Ziggler being involved with anything, I feel bad saying it because I actually genuinely like Dolph Ziggler, but he's kind of poisonous.
I
think he's a great performer, and I don't know if it's just the way that they write him, but
I don't think that it's necessarily his fault.
No.
But it's because it is 2022. He has been in the exact spot that he has been in right now.
Yeah.
For over 11 years.
Yeah.
Daddy Issues Barbie says, what is the secret to a good wrestling arc? Preston, you take that one first.
Thanks. That's how do you even answer that question? I think you have to have performers that are capable of doing good character work. I think that you have to, as a booker, you have to be able to listen to what your audience is responding to and feed that. I think those are like the fundamental things, right? Without even getting into what you're presenting. Like you just have to be able to pull it off, and you have to be able to know what the right choice to make is. And I would even really hesitate to get into anything more specific. Like the best type of story arc is this trope. Like, there's 100 different stories that you can tell in different ways, but I think the basis needs to be you need people who can realistically tell the story that you want to tell, and you have to be able to respond properly to what your audience is telling you that they like, and give it time. You couldn't have told Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth over 3 months like they would try to do now.
Keep it simple, stupid is the secret to a good wrestling arc. Um, and when it's and sometimes that's not even true. Like if you go back and look at the Attitude Era and what everybody like fawns over now, like Austin McMahon was great, but in hindsight, it's a lot of convolutedness every single week. But the spark that lit the flame that allowed it to get to all of those convoluted heights was uh, a rebel who didn't care about the image of the company or what he looked like or what he did, was beating everybody and was going to become champion, and the boss hated it because he wanted there to be a certain image. It's the entire storyline. One guy didn't fit the mold, and the boss hated it that he was the best. That's that whole story, rolled into one. The the Undertaker is fairly convoluted, and because of that, there's not a ton of great story arcs involving the Undertaker, as many as there should be over a 30-year career of that character. But when you look at Mankind, another deranged, monster that came and enjoyed pain, and then that story didn't become about Mankind. It became about Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker, right? And then it's the mentor turning on him, and then it turns into this. He was a lost boy, and then that is the simple storyline. Macho Man and Elizabeth, the superpowers breaking up, very, very, very simple storyline. When you get convoluted in things, when things don't feel realistic, like I don't know, you can make an undead zombie man feel realistic sometimes. You just can, and sometimes you don't, and it's. But I think that's why, and that's why Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins never make sense as an on-screen couple, because there's nothing. You could do it like a one-off for whatever reason, but other than that, like it gets convoluted.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. Just simple storylines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because the more complex you make it, it's sort of like you're telling a lie, right? I mean, you are.
Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
Well, that's not true. I've seen like the first season and then like a couple episodes in season 2.
Breaking Bad gets real weird.
I think most like heavy like story driven, character driven shows do, like, because I'd say the same thing about Lost is maybe one of my favorite shows of all time, definitely in like top 3, but it gets kind of bonkers. But this is sort of like the same idea as what I was about to say. I think the point that you were going to make too is the more you lean into bombastic, goofy shit, it's sort of like you're telling this lie, and then the lie, you have to continue it, and it rolls and it grows and it grows and it grows, and then you can't get Chris, the fallen angel. I was thinking Chris, Chris Daniels, thank you, to be the higher power. So you have to make it Mr. McMahon, because who the fuck else is it going to be? And it's like you're perpetuating and you're perpetuating. There's no out.
And why would it have been Chris Daniels to begin with?
For no reason, just because it was a new person. It's a reveal. It's a debut reveal.
Yes, I agree with that.
The idea that it was Chris Daniels doesn't matter. That's irrelevant to the point. But you've built and built and built and built and built, and then the thing that you're building to falls through, but you've already established it.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's sort of nowhere else to go, and that's sort of what you were talking about with Breaking Bad, and what I was talking about with Lost is like the
Well,
more
if
you
you're
pile on shit, it's like the stakes get higher and higher, and then it's like you got nowhere
right,
to go with it.
people didn't complain in Breaking Bad really as much when stuff started getting like real convenient. You know, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Everybody can stop for 1 minute if you don't want to hear this spoiler for Breaking Bad. It's like a mid-season spoiler, but 3, 2, 1. At one point in that show, right, through like a bunch of random coincidences, 2 airplanes crash into each other directly above Walt's house because of Walt and Jesse. Like, that is a jump the shark moment.
Mhm.
But because that story is about one thing, that entire show is about one thing, which is a down on his luck, brilliant teacher gets cancer and decides to make something of his life in a nefarious way. That is the only Mr. Chips becomes Scarface. It's one story, and because it's that story, because it's that simple story, you're able to then go crazy and tell a story about two 747 jumbo jets crashing into each other directly above his house. That's insane.
Because he's like in over his head, yeah. But and then like the whole sort of his whole arc is being in over his head, but then being able to adapt and overcome.
Right, but like if you told somebody just the airplane thing, they'd be like, "That's really stupid." And
Right,
so
because
many
and that's
people,
how Lost starts. So you're kind of like,
and that's the issue. That's the issue when Vince Russo went. This is a completely different show, but that was the issue when Vince Russo went to WCW, or when he was trying to do
yeah,
things in TNA, right? Because he was the guy that was like, "I got a great idea. What if we had 2 airplanes crash over his house, and then there's a teddy bear in the pool?"
yeah,
And it's like, "Oh, that's the girl's teddy bear." You know what I mean? It's the exact
yeah.
same teddy bear.
That's
And
that's
it's like,
almost the exact term for that type of writing. The
and
plane
it's
crash.
like, yeah, and it's like, okay, but you never have the establishment of the first 3 seasons of the
Yeah.
story just being very slow and all of that. You know what I mean? And that's where it is. And that's what happens. Like, it sucks. But
Yeah.
anyway, keep it simple.
Yeah.
All right, one more couple
Sure.
or honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. I mean, we already talked about Matt Hardy and Lita. Goldust and Marlena.
Fantastic manager duo. It was fine at the time.
Good stuff. DDP and Kimberly, I haven't seen much of, but what I have, it seems hilarious and awesome. And DDP's like rags to riches and back to rad sort of story arc was really funny. From what I've seen, Brandy and Cody Rhodes, complicated. I think good concepts to start with, like the power couple, but the way that they sort of like kind of branched off and then came back together, really inconsistent, like Nightmare Family writing.
It was Triple H and Stephanie, but if Stephanie really wanted to be taken seriously as a wrestler.
Yeah, but wasn't a very good wrestler.
Yep.
Edge and Beth Phoenix. Meh.
I mean, like a month ago, like that's the only time that they ever acknowledged that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right. I mean, they only got married after Edge retired, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the last one that I'll bring up, and one of the ones that I really wanted to talk about, and we can make it kind of quick, is Mark Marrow and Sable.
Poor guy.
Sort of the precursor to the Rusev and Lana separation arc. It's sort of a similar idea, but done so much better and at a time that was much more appropriate. I think.
I agree.
And they just performed that angle so well. Poor Mark Merrow. And like Sable as a wrestler, not the strongest, but for the time and what she was doing, she did pretty well. I mean, and Mark Merrow did his level best to put her over as like a legit fighter. I mean, she was giving Mark Merrow Sable bombs, and you could tell that she was really struggling to get him up. But like, I mean, when they finally split and they actually had their feud against each other, and they did like the promo vignettes where they're both like doing fighting training, and she's like in the gym, like doing speed bags and stuff. Like that, he was not too proud to
No.
get.
He absolutely got her over. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I will say this: Sable did not have the same effect on women's wrestling that Nikki Bella did.
Get out. All right, that's it. We're done.
She didn't. She didn't. She made Sable very popular.
I think, yeah, that's true. I think you're absolutely right. And maybe people don't know what you're doing, but I do, and I think you're right.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean people don't know what I'm doing?
Never mind. Don't worry about it. And I think that, all right. So here's the thing: could Sable have been the Attitude Era's Nikki Bella if we didn't have China? Because I think any attempt to present a fitness model as like a legitimate fighter in the 90s just completely ended once they had China. And Sable was very charismatic.
Why?
And she was, as a performer, Sable was good, but she was just not the best wrestler. Why what?
Why?
Why what?
Why does it have to end when you get China?
Because China looks the part. Because
So,
China doesn't look like a fitness model. She looks like she could kick your ass.
yeah.
So I don't think.
Would you ever have a match?
I don't think I can suspend my disbelief that a fitness model who is very clearly, I can see with my eyes, not a good wrestler. I don't think I can suspend my disbelief in her being a good wrestler. If she's standing side by side with China, who was also not a very good wrestler, but looked like she could kick your ass.
I think that is a lack of them being able to tell the story of that, or a willingness to tell the story of that.
Of course, they were unwilling to tell the story. They were. I mean,
could you have okay? Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar.
Sure.
Can you see him? Can you see any version of that match where Kofi Kingston wins?
No, but I'm not talking about Sable versus China. I'm talking about the presentation of, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the present.
But
I'm talking about how you're presenting Sable to me versus alongside how you're presenting China to me, and the way that you're presenting them, I am meant to believe that they are the same. And I
would never do that. So if you have China come in and she starts wrestling the girls, and she destroys everyone, right?
Yes.
Why can't you do? You just had Sable. You just had Sable. Sable bombing. Mark Merrow.
You just get it right.
She can beat Mark Merrow, but she can't beat China. You can't tell that story. You can't have somebody. You can't have somebody training Sable. You can't have a story where China beats the ever-loving shit out of Sable for 20 minutes, and Sable won't give up, and then she hits her she puts her in a guillotine or something and chokes her out and wins. And then Sable, the fitness model, becomes a fucking badass.
I guess in that timeline, you've buried China
Why?
because I don't know.
So
I
China,
think
so they have a match. So they have a match, and China destroys Sable, and then refuses to have a rematch with her.
Mhm.
And Sable is like, I've never faced anything like her.
Yeah.
Even when I faced Mark Marrow, it was different. You know, maybe because he was underestimating me, and then whatever, and then China underestimates her, and she won't even take her match, and she's just going through everybody else in the women's division, etc. And Stable's like training, and she finally like gets her, she wins like a 6-man or whatever, and she she comes back, and then they have a match, and China is fucking taking it easy on her. You know what I mean? Like she keeps trying things, and China keeps throwing her off, like classic Brock Lesnar match.
Mhm.
And then she goes to pin her, and she lets her up, and China's laughing about it. That doesn't make China look bad. And then China tries to pin her, and she's like, "Okay, that's enough," and she puts her down, and then she tries to pin her, and Sable kicks out, and then China gets mad.
I think
And then China hits another move, and she gets mad. And then she does one more thing, and then Sable hits the one move that she's been practicing this entire time, and she gets it.
yeah. All right. Yeah. 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 But
There was no audience for it in 1997.
right, that
The
it-
most popular song in the country was "And Twins."
I think I think that on paper, yes. I think that China not being a a very good wrestler, I think spoils it a little bit. Because then I'm like, I can't really get behind either of them. Like, it doesn't really feel like a hurdle. If like, I think telling that story with two people who are just barely passable wrestlers.
You know who nailed that exact story that I just said?
Tell me.
Bailey and Nia Jax.
Okay, but Bailey's a good wrestler, and Sable is not.
That's true, but
Which
Sable
means
was
which
more
means
over.
that which means that China can't even carry Sable through the match. All the heavy has to do is not fall down and get and take hits, right?
I think
But
that
like
I think that China was good enough. Yeah,
wrestle China.
yeah, it's definitely something that would have had to have been. This is a pointless conversation. You know what? I think that if China and Sable had gotten together, best wrestling on-screen couple. How is China and Triple H not on there as an on-screen couple? I guess they were never an on-screen couple.
Yeah, I chose to omit them because I never perceived them as having been an on-screen couple.
I don't remember them.
I don't know. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge, but my recollection is that they were never really presented in a romantic way.
I don't think so.
And that's why. But anyway, that was a great talk. I always okay. So thank you, Ben. So that's going to be us for Let's Talk Wrestling here on Come Waste Your Time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching and giving us your inspirational Muhammad Ali quotes and asking your questions. And Ben, what is coming up on Come Waste Your Time or whatever you have going on?
I don't know.
You never talk about anything else on this, and maybe because I always specifically ask you about Come Waste Your Time, but do do you feel it's fair to mention any of the like 3-2-1 stuff on here? Is this completely separate? No,
Yeah, it's fine.
no one that watches a wrestling podcast wants to see what some accountant in Westerly is doing, or whoever you're talking.
All over the country. Thank you, Preston. But no, we're good. Just subscribe or follow.
Or
You don't have to
whatever.
subscribe, but follow the channel, and
I don't think
you'll see what's coming
I
up
don't think you
more.
can subscribe. Are you affiliate?
No, I have no idea.
No, I'm spoiling it for you. Your views are great when I'm not on. Did you ever post my 5-minute show, or did you just stop doing this?
I didn't stop doing them. I don't know. I don't know if we might have to retape that.
Oh, really? Did you lose it?
I don't know. That was the stream that lasted like 4 hours, and I don't know if Dave saved it and took it out like he said that he was going to.
Oh yeah, they go away after a while. That's all right. We can redo it.
But anyway, thank you, Preston.
Yeah, absolutely.
Preston, your best TikTok of all time is definitely
The Sweeney Todd.
I can't my glasses open.
Yeah, I was really proud of that. I want to tell you, because you're one of the only ones that I could actually tell this to that will understand. What I wanted to do was to do that, but with "At last, my right arm is complete again." But they didn't have that specific moment on TikTok.
That's okay. That's okay. You know what I wouldn't have done? What I didn't notice the first time? That you have a text come up on screen that says "I have glasses." I really liked. I didn't notice it the first time. I really liked just the description. That just the description was "I have glasses now."
Yeah.
That was so simple. Just and I think that it said. I think that the title on the actual video said, "At last, my right eye is complete again."
Yeah.
which is fantastic, and yeah.
Thank you.
But it was wonderful.
One for the homies.
Yeah, absolutely, best thing that you've ever done.
Thank you.
By far, and also.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about my stuff.
Yeah. Talk about your stuff. Sorry,
Yes,
I literally just you asked me what I got going on. I was like nothing.
You were like nothing, and that's it. The end. Goodbye. You can find me on Twitch at Captain Stick Figure. CAPTSTICKFIGURE. Periodically throughout the week. I'm sort of in the middle of changing up my schedule a little bit, so I can't say precisely when I normally go on. But I stream a lot of retro stuff, and I spelled that wrong.
There it is. Just look at the one up top.
Oh, you did it too. We're having a great time. So we are. I stream mostly at night, and I do retro stuff, playing a lot of Final Fantasy stuff like that. But if you enjoy the sound of my voice, please feel free to stop on by, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Preston Can't Play, all one word. But yeah, so I have been Preston Black. This has been Barber. That one. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Ugh.